Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new edition of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight we are live with writer extraordinaire Dan Slott and award-winning artist Rick Burchett talking all about their run on She-Hulk. We'll delve into other aspects of their career as well. All that and more, stand by. We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors, 4 Hogwarts houses, 1 ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all. And for those of you driving around the greater St. Louis area, hearing this on the Big 550 KTRS, thank you for tuning in tonight. If you are streaming us out there on the World Wide Web, thank you for finding us there. And if you're watching this live on Instagram or on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, hello to you. Welcome, and we're glad you are listening. Very excited about this show tonight. Rick Burchett has been on the show with us several times before, even live at Planet Comic-Con when we had Kevin Conroy and Maurice LaMarche on the panel with us. I've never had the honor of having Dan Slott. And Dan, I want to apologize to you right off because I realized as I was introducing you, I said we have writer extraordinaire Dan Slott and award-winning artist Rick Burchett. Not that you haven't won awards, though, Dan. I told Rick, I said, oh, Dan hates me already. I can tell.
It's all good.
Okay.
It's good.
So when was the last time?
The greatest award is being on this show right now with Rick.
Yeah, that's Dan, all right.
So you guys obviously worked together before She-Hulk on Batman Adventures, yes. And then She-Hulk, and your run on She-Hulk was great. That was the second time around you worked together. What was it, and I'll direct the question to Rick first, what was it you guys learned from working with each other the first time around that you were able to apply to your She-Hulk run? We'll start with Rick.
I learned that Dan knows more about comics than I do. We'd be on the phone, and Dan would regale me with stories about things that I knew nothing about, and it was always an education. By the way, Dan, you never call, you never write.
Oh. I'm horrible.
It's starting already.
I'm the worst. Hey, Rick.
Hey, bud.
And Dan, same question. What did you learn about Rick, having worked with him now the second time around when you started working on She-Hulk after coming off Batman Adventures?
That Rick could draw anything. It was like, sometimes like you ask for the moon and you don't get the moon, or the moon isn't the way the moon is in your head, and that is not the case with Rick. You get 2 moons.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a quick little story from our time on Batman. Dan had written a sequence in the script where there are some thugs threatening someone in an alley, and Batman swings down and takes care of them, right? Well, I have drawn that scene about 4,000 times. And so I found what I thought was a cute little way to obtusely show that scene, but without really showing it. And I mentioned this to Dan because I wanted to run it by him first. And he said, oh, okay. I said, something wrong? He goes, yeah, I'd kind of like you to draw it the way it was written. I said, Dan, do you know how many times I've drawn this scene? And he said, yeah, but this is the first time I've written it.
Aww. See, how could you say no to that, though? So.
Exactly.
It's when I was working on Batman Adventures, I was an insufferably happy human being. There is, I looked like I had like rainbows shooting out of every orifice because I was like, I get to write Batman, and not like the Batman that is mired in DC continuity. Like at the time we were doing it, they were doing stuff like No Man's Land and every other day Batman had his back broken or was replaced by somebody else as a different Batman. All of Gotham City was turned into Mad Max World or whatever. And we got to do, Deanie Tim Batman. We got to do Batman that's straight Batman to the bone. And how can... one of my biggest awakenings as a comic book writer, because this is a job. What we do, what Rick does, what I do, you sit down at the desk all day, and on some level it is a job, and you got to meet your deadlines, and you got to get stuff in. And I remember, riding up in my elevator one day, and I had all these, supplies for an all-nighter, and I got all my coffee, and I got, snack food, and I'm just going to do whatever it takes to make this deadline. And this guy gets in the elevator from my building with me, and he's all disheveled from being at work all day, and he's loosened his tie. And when he gets in the elevator with me, he's like, "Oh, thank God today's over, right?" And I'm like, my day's just starting. I'm going to be up all night working. And we get to his floor, and the door opens, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm writing Batman." And the look on this guy's face as the door started closing. What? You're complaining about eating candy. What is it? And then it all hit me, and that was the easiest night I ever worked. It was like, I'm writing Batman. This is great.
And I was interested, too, because I watched you, Dan, on the Marvel Method on the Marvel 616 series on Disney+. And it was very fascinating learning about the Marvel Method. And I was wondering, and both you and Rick can speak to this, is it vastly different working for DC than it is for Marvel? And we'll start with Dan on this one.
That documentary is haunting me.
In a good way?
No.
Oh.
Because they did all this stuff to heighten the drama. So somehow I'm working Marvel Method and I'm plotting, and Chris Gage is scripting, and Pete Woods is drawing, and Joe Carmani is lettering, all magically at the same time and all going down to the wire. It's like there are all these people online and people who love comics who can find a conspiracy theory in anything. They can find every kind of continuity error or any kind of time someone's made a misstatement, but they can watch that in the documentary and not go, "Wait a minute, that guy's separating the eggs, but that guy's icing the cake."
Yeah. I was going to say, it's very much like the Great British Baking Show for Marvel Comics.
Yeah, it made no earthly sense. And when I talked to the guys after it was done, they're like, "Oh, we're doing it for drama." And you're like, so I look at it looks like I'm this guy who plots a comic at the last second, which is insane because then Chris couldn't script it, or Pete couldn't draw it, or Joe couldn't letter it. But the way I work for, by the time I started working for DC, I'd already been working at Marvel for a couple of years, and my first ever Marvel assignment I did, I wrote it full script, and they beat it out of me. They said, "Do not write a script like this. Write it Marvel style." And then I started writing it Marvel style, and that's the way I just write now, and whatever company I work with just has to lump it. That's the way my muscles work now, and it's like I can't do it another way. So poor Rick had to work with me kind of Marvel style. But my Marvel style isn't like Stan Lee Marvel style. It's not super loose. It's not, hey, here's a page and Batman and Catwoman fight. It's very much, describing what I'd like on every panel of every page, but not including the dialogue.
And then, Rick, did you find it different going over to Marvel to work on, for example, She-Hulk versus...
Actually, I've worked with so many different writers, and everybody has a different method, even though they're working for a certain company. For instance, Mark Wheatley writes a short story, and then it's up to the artist to come in and pick the pertinent images out of his text and build the page that way. I worked with Paul Dini on a Batgirl adventure.
Yeah.
Paul gave me a 3-paragraph synopsis that I turned into 48 pages of pencils and inks.
Oh,
So-
that sounds like bliss.
And then I worked with the late, great Marty Pasco on Blackhawk, who told me everything I needed to know about every panel. He mentioned a desk, what kind of desk it was, what was on the desk, where the things on the desk sat.
Wow.
What kind of windows were in the wall, things like that. So it really, you just roll with the punches.
Now, do you have a preference? Do you prefer all that detail so it takes a little less out of your imagination, or is it more bogged down in the detail?
I'm such a fascist when it comes to storytelling in comics that I really like to have a firm hand on the visuals.
Okay.
I mean, if the writer has a specific thing in mind, yeah, I'll be glad to. But, the looser the script, the better it is for me.
Okay.
Also, one of the nice things about working with Rick is that we were working together for a while, and we developed a rhythm. When you work with, you will change your style of writing to match what your artist likes doing the longer you work with the artist. That hopefully the more you work together, the goal is to eventually become that couple that no one wants to play Pictionary with.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So, there are times, and if you try to think that it's one size fits all, it never will be. Like when I was doing Spider-Man stuff with John Romita Jr., he had a very Rick approach to the Batman in the Alley, where he was like, I had scenes of Spider-Man swinging in and punching and kicking guys. And John Jr. was like, I've drawn that a lot. Like, you're choreographing the fight. Can I choreograph the fight? And I was like, well, as long as those guys get knocked out and Spider-Man gets the code key and Green Goblin gets away, you can do whatever you want. And those action sequences would be glorious because that's the way, it gave him, that's where he liked having freedom. But when I was working with Stuart Immonen, if I did that, like, hey, Stuart, have fun with the fight scene, he'd write back, like, what are they doing? Describe to me exactly what they're doing, and I will draw that. Don't just throw it up in the air, and you're like, oh, that's the way you like to work. So you start getting everyone's rhythm. I got to work with Mike Allred on Silver Surfer we worked for like 3 years together.
Yeah.
And by the end, we were very telepathically communicating. Then you're like, and anyone reads the scripts and they go, what is this? It was that way very much with me when I was doing Ren and Stimpy with Mike Kazala. Like by the end, our scripts read, you remember that thing we talked about on the phone? Can we do that, but with a Twinkie?
That's the notion of the Pictionary analogy. I'm now picturing you and Rick going up against Will and Grace in Pictionary.
Yeah. So you read it to anyone else and they go, oh my God, no, give me the IKEA instructions. Don't give me this semaphore shorthand insanity.
Yeah,
it's different for everybody.
Yeah, it is. It's a new game every time you work with a different writer. And you just got to... And what I tell every writer before I work with them, before I begin, I tell them, look, I am not going to change your story in any way. But if I can think of a better way to visually draw what you're trying to imply here, then I will do it. But if it's a big change, I'll let you know beforehand.
And hopefully that gives, like I said, you've been doing this to such a high point in your career, Rick, that hopefully anyone who works with as a writer knows that, yeah, if that's, I trust you to provide the visuals for this framework. Surely that's never been an issue.
No, I mean, I've never had a problem with a writer. They've all said, yeah, it's okay.
Well, it's the wonderful thing is, you write it and then you get it, and it's always better when someone goes, oh, they drew it a better way than it was in my, oh, I like this. It's always, you're like, oh, that worked so much better than it was in my head. That's the best feeling.
And we're chatting this hour with Dan Slott, award-winning writer Dan Slott, and obviously award-winning artist Rick Burchett. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back. If you would like to call in, if you have a question for either of these gentlemen, you can feel free to call in. The main KTRS line is 314-931-5877. You can also send a text message to 84126. Just make sure we have your name because all it comes up with is a phone number. So if you're texting in, say, "Hi, this is Joey from St. Louis, and I'd like to ask Rick a question about this." We'll take those questions on air. And if you would like to text those, we'll also read those out on air. We'll take a quick commercial break and come right back. So please stand by.
Hello, everyone. This is Paul Souls, voice of Spider-Man and Hermie, the Misfit Elf, wanted to be a dentist on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Coming to you on Geek to Me Radio. Hope you enjoy. Talk with you soon.
Here comes the Spider-Man.
Very sad that we lost Paul Souls a couple weeks ago, and I was so thrilled to be able to interview him at Terrific-Con. You can go to geektomeradio.com and go to the archives, and you can see all the past episodes we've done and catch that interview with Paul Souls. I did want to play back something coming from Spider-Man because obviously, I'm sure, Dan, you must get this a lot. That Superior Spider-Man run you did was brilliant. I love things when people change something up to the point where you're not expecting it, and it blew me away. I don't think I've enjoyed Spider-Man that much since he got his cosmic powers.
Well, thank you very much. People didn't feel that way at the time.
Right. I think you were getting some Hail Hydra Captain America level hate at that point, weren't you?
Please, we blew that out of the water, man. Everyone was really freaking out up until honestly the first issue came out, and we showed the ghost of Peter Parker hanging around. And that at that point, people kind of knew, Pete's going to get his body back somehow. The question is how. And the minute you dangle that carrot, then everyone was like, okay, we're calm. Because it got to a point where, like, I got a call from Stan Lee's office, and they're like, Stan wants to know if you're bringing Peter back.
I saw Stan's very last Dragon Con appearance in 2018. I was at his panel, and one of the people asked the question about, what do you think about the whole Cap going to Hydra? And Stan stood up and he said, "Cap did what? I'm calling Marvel as soon as I get off this stage." He was very upset.
Oh, no, he wasn't.
He's a showman. He has to pretend. I'm sure he knew about it.
He's a consummate showman. He knew exactly what we were doing to Peter, and he jumped online, and he was like, Slott, what have you done? And we bandied back and forth. He was adorable. My last ever time I got to see Stan, was we were both at this one con, and it wasn't the Dragon Con or the last con, but we were at the one of the things they let us do at shows is they let us use service elevators. So, because that way, like, if we go down the hall, someone's going to stop you and ask you to sign stuff or talk to you, and you're not going to get to the panel in time. So they let us, like, sneak around and use service elevators. And I'm waiting for one of the service elevators, and it opens up, and there's Stan on his rascal with his helper. And at this point, his eyesight was not that good. And the helper goes, "Oh, hey, Stan, look, that's Dan Slott." And Stan starts getting up out of the rascal. I'm kind of like motioning, like, don't, stay in the rascal. And he was going, "You're the writer of Spider-Man." And I was like, no, you're the writer of Spider-Man. And then Stan looked at me and he winked and he did jazz hands and he went, "We're the writer of Spider-Man." It was like I was going to top that. I was like, okay, that is a good Stan memory. And I saw him at another show, and I purposely avoided him.
Oh, yeah, you don't. you set the bar high. You don't want to try to.
Story.
That's right. It's like George Costanza. You got to go out on a high note.
Got to go on the high note. And it wasn't like I was ditching him. Anywhere Stan went, he was surrounded by like a million people who wanted to hang with him.
Sure. Yeah, that's and again, to bring it back to Spider-Man, you mentioned earlier writing Ren and Stimpy. Spider-Man versus Powdered Toast Man is one of my more beloved issues of Ren and Stimpy. It's kind of funny you went full circle from him in a Ren and Stimpy comic to replacing Peter with Dr. Octopus. It's a very interesting arc that you've had in your Spider-Man career.
Yes. We should have had a Powdered Toast Man rematch when he was Superior.
Ooh, that'd be good.
That would have been great.
I think Otto might crush him pretty hard though, because he didn't show much mercy for the other people he went up against.
You would roll him into a ball of dew.
And I find it funny, the different projects you've worked on, you both won awards for your work. Rick, what is the one thing, because you've worked on a lot of stuff, and I remember someone approached you at a convention, I think it may have been Bob, our friend Bob, and said, who haven't you drawn? You said, Jonah Hex. So all the stuff that you've drawn over the years, A, what's the one that you're most proud of, and B, what's something that you haven't drawn yet professionally?
As for what I'm most proud of, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that I'm most proud of. I kind of think of it in terms of, did I have fun on this project, or did I get to work with somebody really cool, or stuff like that. But as far as characters I haven't drawn, the list is very, very long.
Really?
Yeah, when you're a kid growing up and you dream about being a comic artist, you automatically start thinking, oh, and I want to draw this character, and I want to draw that character. And truth be told, I never wanted to draw Batman.
Wow.
What?
I spent 15 years of my career on Batman. And it's not that I didn't like the character or anything. It's just that I didn't feel I had anything to bring to it. You know, after seeing Neil Adams and Dick Sprang and Bernie Wrightson and Norm Brayfogle and, you know, on and on and on and on, it's like, what have I got to add to this mix? And I couldn't figure out what that was. And another funny thing is, growing up, I was a hardcore Marvel guy. Okay. I mean, I was there at the beginning of Marvel. So Dan, this will interest you. My first issue of Spider-Man that I bought off the rack, off the spinner rack in my local drugstore, was number 3.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I was there and I was caught up in it, and I wanted to be a Marvel guy. You know, I grow up and 95% of my work is for DC. So it was, it's planned, you know, it depends on the opportunities you're given, actually. Unless you're somebody like on Dan's level or Jim Lee's level, who can just kind of walk in and say, that's the character I want, and they give it to you.
That's exactly my career.
Of course it is, Dan. I was there. I know. But well, listen, when we were doing She-Hulk, they kicked you upstairs to do Spider-Man at the end of our year. Yep. And they just kicked me. No. Anyway, but no, really, the list is very long of characters, and I always wanted to do, I wanted to be a Marvel guy. And so thanks to Dan, I was a Marvel guy.
We brought you in special.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, because I was like, we were wrapping up She-Hulk, and we needed an artist, and I was like, I want someone I feel safe with.
Yeah. So they called me and said, bring your gun, you know.
You have to protect you. Not only are you drawing for Dan, you have to be his bodyguard.
But I got to say that, you know, of all the Marvel characters, She-Hulk was not at the top of my list, you know. But having said that, it was some of the most fun I've ever had that year.
We throw in a ton of guest stars all the time.
Oh, man, no kidding. And it was so much fun. I mean, you know, here I get this script and it's got Thor in it, you know. Wow. And then it's got, you know, Tony Stark in it. And then it's got, you know, it's crazy.
So when I say, which characters haven't you drawn? You said there's a whole list.
Oh, yeah.
Do you count, like, I drew Thor in this issue of She-Hulk, I drew Wolverine. Do you count that, or you count as I worked on a mainstay book with that character? Is that what you're counting? Because you did Justice League run in Adventure, so you drew a lot of DC characters. So is that how you're counting it?
No, I figure the Justice League is a character.
Oh, okay.
By itself.
Right.
Okay? Justice League, that's a character. But, you know, practically everything that I haven't drawn is what I've wanted to draw.
Okay.
I heard the same kind of thing from John Romita Sr., and it shocked me.
Really?
Like, he didn't want to work on Spider-Man. He wanted Stan to give him Daredevil.
He was very good on Daredevil.
Into Daredevil back then, and Stan made him go on to Spider-Man.
Wow.
Yeah. You're
wow.
Like, what?
That's interesting.
But he was really good on Daredevil on those few issues he did. He was
absolutely
excellent.
Yeah, because he loved it. It would be weird to me when you talk to like some of the masters, and you're like, who do you want to draw? And then they'd be like, I always wanted to do Terry and the Pirates, and you're like, what?
That's one of my wanted to do.
Really?
Actually, I almost got to do Terry and the Pirates. Strangely enough.
Huh.
Yeah. Joe Staten, my friend Joe Staten, talked the Syndicate. He does Dick Tracy. Talked to the Syndicate about reviving Terry and the Pirates and having me as the artist. And they were all on board with it. And it was going to happen. And then they changed the hierarchy at the Syndicate, and the new people didn't want to do that. Yeah.
Well, Dan, over to you. The same question is, obviously, you've worked on Silver Surfer, you've worked on Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, obviously, Iron Man. Is there a character, either for Marvel or, let's say Marvel, that you haven't written that you would love, that you've got some ideas percolating in your head you'd love to do a book for?
Oh, yeah. I for ages, I've always wanted to do a run on Moon Knight.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Which iteration of Moon Knight? Like the classic Mark Spector, or like...
Mark Spector with the four identities, Jake Lockley, Stephen Grant, Moon Knight. I grew up I grew up loving Batman. Batman was my DC guy, and part of like Batman stories is Batman always finds that way to win. Batman's the best of the best of the best. And the fun about Moon Knight is Batman in the Marvel Universe, but he always F's up.
Thank you for saying F's up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's like, what if Batman just F'd up all the time? and what if he was crazy? You know, everyone always treats Batman, you know, like he's the ultimate hero, even though he's working through this sacred vow and this obsession. But come on, that's a little crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And at Marvel, they just let Moon Knight be crazy.
And
Moon Knight is someone I would love someday. Like, Marvel looks after me great. It would be fun to go over to DC and like all because at Marvel, I've been at Marvel for now. I've kind of had two careers at Marvel, and my second one, I've been around there since 2004. And I've got to, like when I was talking right now with Rick, like we would have whatever guest star we wanted would show up in She-Hulk. And I've done that pretty much in any book I've worked on. I've got to tick all the boxes.
Yeah.
I've kind of purposely avoided Moon Knight. I want to save up. So it's the boxes I'd want to tick that I haven't gotten to out of the big two are more on the DC side. Like, I have a huge love of Dead Man and the Silver Age Doom Patrol and the Marvel family. All the Ditko-y guys like Blue Beetle and Creeper. So yeah, there's a lot of guys over in the DC universe that everyone in the Fourth World.
And let's say if let's just throw out a hypothetical, we do a DC Marvel crossover. And I'll start this one with Rick. You get to draw it, and you know whatever writer is assigned to it. You get to draw it. What two characters, one Marvel and one DC, would you love to draw?
Oh my God, boy, that's a good question. I don't know. Probably from DC, it would be Hawkman.
Okay.
From Marvel, Cap was my guy when I was growing up. Cap was my guy. But Cap and Hawkman, they just don't go together. I don't know.
Oh, you could do a World War II adventure.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'd like to do at Marvel is Sergeant Fury.
Oh, yeah.
I would really because those first few issues of Sergeant Fury are just...
His Howling Commandos.
Yeah, those are golden. But yeah, you know, I don't know, maybe the Golden Age Hawkman and Captain America during World War II, that would be kind of fun.
That would be. And Dan, same question to you. If you could write a crossover, Marvel and DC, what two characters would you pick? Now,
it's been done multiple times, but very much like me, Rick, and Batman in the Alley, I never got to do it. So I would do Spider-Man and Batman in a second.
Okay.
And I know exactly like all the villains I'd use and what the setups would be and blah, 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 blah. I would do that. But, you know, in a whole, you can't do that, it's already been done, then Batman Moon Knight.
Oh, okay. That'd be a good team up, too.
I would love to juxtapose them. They tried to bring me over to CrossGen for a while before I got a Marvel contract. And they were going to sign me up at CrossGen. And at one point I was in Ron Mars's office. And they had all this gorgeous art everywhere up at the CrossGen offices. The owner was an amazing art collector of comic book art. Like, he had the entire Barry Windsor Smith spec job for Conan.
Ooh.
Wow.
All of it framed and all along a wall. Like, in their break room, their coffee room, they had the splash page that Kirby did that showed the cutaway of the Baxter Building. Like, everything, like, they had a fortune on the walls. And when I was in Ron Mars's office, and I was just talking to him, he had this beautiful piece, and I'd seen it before in, like, fanzines of Batman and Moon Knight. And I'm trying to remember, it was like Kevin Nolan, or it was this gorgeous piece of art, and I kept staring at it. And here I was supposed to be being interviewed for this job, and Ron Mars had to keep snapping his fingers like, Dan. And I did, I just kept staring at Batman and Moon Knight throughout the whole thing. And at one point, Ron got up and he took it off the wall and turned it away and went, Dan, if you come to work at CrossGen, we will hang this in your office.
Oh, wow. That's an incentive.
And I was like, okay, let's talk.
So, again, what is the address of this building, and how many security cameras did you notice in the break room, just out of curiosity?
They are long gone because it's CrossGen. They folded. But what was amazing was the owner, Alessi, he had a taste for the classics, but he also liked these big-breasted Turner women from, like, the Aspen books.
Okay.
So you'd be walking down the hall, and it would be, you know, like, Jack Kirby, Wally Wood. And then the third thing would be, you know, woman with giant boobs. Would be like every third one. It would be like, it was bizarre. It was like walking through the Louvre, and every fifth painting would be a cover of Maxim.
I think it's just something to maybe cleanse your palate when you're going from all this great art and be like, no, reset your brain.
That art is great in its own way.
Yes,
and
obviously.
It's beautifully done, but it's kind of like, you know, it's chocolate, vanilla, and then raspberry swirl. You're like, what?
Just reset your visual palette a little bit, that's all.
Yeah.
We're talking with Dan Slott and Rick Burchett for the rest of the hour. We'll make sure before we take this next break, we tell you about our official movie sponsor. That's Marcus Theaters. MarcusTheaters.com is the website. Marcus Theaters and Movie Tavern are making it safe to go back to the movies. If you're wanting to go out and see a movie, Black Widow is coming out right around the corner. Shang-Chi is coming out right around the corner. All these great movies. You can see them all at Marcus Theaters. $5 Movie Tuesday, by the way, and Marcus Magical Rewards members get free popcorn on that day as well. Maybe you want to see the new Fast 9 that's coming out for the Fast and Furious saga. Lots of stuff to see and do at Marcus Theaters. You can download the app for your smartphone. You can purchase your tickets and your concessions through the app, so it's ready and waiting for you when you get there. You can check out movie reviews, the one closest to you. $2 Kids Summer Cinema, by the way, coming up Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday through August 19th. Get your tickets right there online. Find the location closest to you and get out and see these movies the way they're meant to be seen in the theater. MarcusTheaters.com is the site. We're going to take another quick commercial break. We're going to come right back talking more with Rick and Dan, so please stand by.
Hello, my name is Sylvester McCoy. I want you to listen to Geek to Me Radio. Otherwise, if you don't, I'll cry.
And we're back live on Geek to Me Radio. We want to make sure we tell you about our premier sponsor. That's the City of St. Charles, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. If you've been with me since the beginning, as this sponsor has, you know the website, discoverstcharles.com. Lots of stuff to see and do. If you want to get outdoors, you can bike ride the Katy Trail. If you don't have a bike, there's places along there you can rent bikes. If you just want to get out in the park, play some frisbee golf, or just kind of hang out, walk by the river, have a picnic with the family. If you'd like something a little more upscale, there's all sorts of eateries up and down Main Street and in the general St. Charles area that have a wide variety of food. You can get some really good blueberry cobbler at Magpie's. You can have a gooey butter milkshake at Riverside Sweets. You can have fancy cocktails and dinner at Tompkins House. house, and there's something for every taste in between. Maybe you're just a history buff. You can go up and down and get your fill of all the placards that say this happened here, and here's where Lewis and Clark started their expedition. A lot to see and a lot to do. They just recently celebrated their 250th anniversary of the founding of the city, and the city just keeps growing, bringing new things. If you're a Halloween fan, Legends and Lanterns coming up. I know we're coming into June, almost into July. October will be here before you know it, and there's no better way to celebrate Halloween than with their Legends and Lanterns Festival, where you can meet living history characters like Lizzie Borden, Abigail Williams, to fantastical creatures like Medusa and the Phantom of the Opera. Check out the website to get more information. That's discoverstcharles.com, discoverstcharles.com, as we always say, and historically good time. Dan, coming back into the break there, we had the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. Susan Eisenberg told me that you were the one who got her kind of hooked on Doctor Who because you're a huge Whovian.
I am. It feels like your intros and outros are like aimed right at my childhood heart with Paul Soules and Spider-Man 67 and now Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm a huge Whovian. I've been very good about not using my Spider-Man powers for evil or personal gain, with the sole exception of Doctor Who. I have used that lever to like, anytime someone wants me at a convention, I'm like, what Doctor Who guests do you have?
Are there any that you haven't met yet?
Yeah, and I'll be like, what Doctor Who guests do you have? Can I hang out with them in the green room? And the minute they say it, now I will do your show.
So of the living doctors, which ones haven't you met yet?
I have not met McCoy and McGann, and that's it.
Wow, okay.
And I've been at shows where one or the other was there, but I've been, like, swamped because you have to do your panel time, your booth time, your networking, you're hanging out with people, and sometimes it's hard to squeeze it all in. But, yeah, so I've used it to meet all the doctors, all the companions, all to get onto the actual TARDIS.
I went to Geekonomic Con in Oklahoma City in 2016. It was celebrating, I believe, at that point, the 30th anniversary of the Doctor Who movie, and they had the entire cast there. I got this great picture of me in the TARDIS, I've got the Master putting his arm around me, Eric Roberts. Sylvester McCoy is kind of winking as he's moving the controls. And those are the two doctors I've actually had on my show, have been Paul and Sylvester.
We are the Venn diagram that does not meet. That's like the one part of fandom that I've let one side abuse the other. I'm like, I'll run right up to people and go, hi, I'm the guy who writes Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, really? Okay, now let's talk.
Right. Rick,
hi, Doctor's Companion.
Do you fan out, Rick? Because you do these conventions. I see you at Planet Comic-Con every year, and I've seen you at other conventions. Do you ever fan out about a TV or a movie guest?
I'll tell you, one time I did big time. I went to talk to some people that I knew, and we were talking, and one of the guys I met a guy I didn't know, and I met there, and he said, he goes, I got to hang around here for a minute. Some of the stuntmen from Captain America not Civil War, but Winter Soldier are going to be here. Mm-hmm. I thought, stuntmen from Captain America? Really? And so sure enough, 3 guys came over a little later. One of them was Anthony Mackie's stuntman.
Oh, wow.
And the other 2 guys had been, kind of utility stunts on the movie. And I stood there and listened to them talk for an hour. And I was just like 10 years old again. They were telling stories about, the directors gave them all of these, these foam rubber shields. Take these home and throw them.
Get used to the...
Bounce them against a tree, whatever, And the guys were talking about the fight scene in the elevator. And they said, actually, the director just told us to, do whatever we wanted to. There are 9 minutes of film of a fight scene in that elevator that they just let them go.
Wow.
And then they cut it back. It's like, oh, my God. But, yeah, stuntmen, voice actors, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
When we were on that panel and Maurice LaMarche kind of slid into doing the brain, I almost started giggling. It was like... This is just too cool.
Yeah, voice actors are a thing for me too. Obviously, it's always fun to do this show because I get to have people like you and Dan on and talk to you guys about all your work. But we just last week had Susan Eisenberg on here.
Yay!
She helped us host Friends Trivia because she's a Friends fan, and she's like, "I'll help you host that because Susan's a fan of radio."
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of radio. I old time radio drama. I'm just, man. It's the best.
And we do these interviews, and like I said, Rick's been on my show several times. I'm always glad to have him on. Dan, do you ever get questions that you're just kind of like, that question again? What are a couple of the questions that you always get that you're just kind of like, I feel that one all the time?
Wow. There's the usuals. How did you break into comics? It's like, oh man, I'm going to answer this one again. That's a huge one. Why was it Doc Ock? Why was it not another Spider villain? Oh man, trust me. There's like a story I'd been hinting in almost every comic I've been working on in 2004 onward, called The Reckoning War.
Mm-hmm.
That's always this great big thing looming in the background, and I can tell how diehard a fan I am because at a panel out of nowhere they'll go, "When are you doing the Reckoning War?"
And I know all the stuff you've worked on too. That when you're doing a crossover event, when you're writing a big crossover event, do those ever get kind of exhausting because you're trying to think, okay, well, what's going on in this person's book? Well, what's going on? So you don't, continuity errors. Is that ever just kind of like you just want to write the solo book and not do the big crossovers ever, or are those exciting for you to write?
It all depends how invested the writer is. Like they can sweep you up in their enthusiasm. The whoever's shouldering the event, they've come up with the story and they're into it, and how well they play with others and how many pieces of the puzzle they throw to you is also another help. There's no Marvel comic I've ever written where I go, "Oh, this is drudgery." It's a Marvel comic, man.
Yeah.
And it's fun to be part of the tapestry. That's from the moment you're reading like your first, Marvel team up or Spider-Man comic where another hero swings through and or flies by or whatever, you go, oh, it's all one thing. There's kind of an awe in it that you live in this world where, you have the Punisher over there and Man-Thing and Howard the Duck over there and Thor's doing that. And it's, there's something very cool about that. That'll never get old to me. The hard part is when you're doing the event.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That takes years of life out of you like a vampire because you're reading everybody's scripts, you're giving notes, you have to make sure the whole puzzle comes together, you're making crazy deadlines, sometimes you're writing whole sequences out of sequence so that other people can see the art for a major sequence for the tie-ins. So you're writing this giant sprawling story out of sequence, keeping everyone else, knowing where everyone else is. It's like I really only worked on the Spider events were the ones that I kind of was a puppet master on. Mm-hmm. But I could tell you, you watch any of the Marvel writers doing like a big event, Secret Invasion, Fear Itself, Siege, whatever, Infinity, any big event, the beginning of the event, that writer looks like young Obama.
And then by
I
the
don't
end,
have to finish the sentence. You know where I'm going.
And with all the stuff that you both have worked on, I guess he just mentioned Howard the Duck. Have you ever drawn Howard the Duck,
Never
Rick?
have.
Oh, see,
Never
I
have.
may have to commission you.
Wait,
to do Howard the Duck.
whoa.
No,
Didn't we do the whole story where Stu Cicero ends up on Duck World?
No. Well, he did end up on Duck World, but I don't. If Howard was in it,
Howard wasn't there.
Howard wasn't there. No.
You drew every duck but Howard.
Yeah. Yeah, Howard wasn't there. Yeah, it was like, no, seriously, when Dan and I were doing She-Hulk, I never knew what was going to come through the transom. I mean, it could be just about, but well, first of all, the two-gun kid was a regular member of the cast, which was great for me because I love Westerns.
You love Westerns.
So that was great. But I mean, the awesome android, drawing the awesome android and showing emotion on his face should be like a litmus test for anybody who wants to draw comics.
Man, you killed that awesome Andy like it was like the solo issue.
Oh, yeah.
You killed on and you did that great sequence where it was a flashback story and he was hanging out with Mighty Thor.
Oh, yeah.
Like classic Thor.
Yeah, and
no beard.
The Mad Thinker was in it, and it was really a lot of fun. And then, you know, the awesome android did a Brody off the top of the Empire State Building.
But he grew wings.
Yeah, true.
And flew away.
True.
It sounds like you guys had a blast, and that comes across when you're reading it, too. Probably one of the most shared versions of the two-year work together is when She-Hulk decides she's going to do the Fastball Special with Wolverine.
Oh, my God.
And I probably at least once a week I see someone sharing that panel on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and it's a classic now.
I wish I had $1 for every time somebody has come up to me and asked me if I have that page of art, that they'd like to buy it. And yes, I do, and no, they can't.
That's the week that came out. It was New York Comic Con the following week, and it's one of my favorite panel memories. Was I said to the crowd, you know, who here's read that issue of She-Hulk? And I was people like, I'm like, do me a favor. And then I leaned into the mic, and it was there was a farmer had a dog, and Bingo was his name, O-B-I, and the whole crowd went, Wendigo.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's one of those that is going to go down in history. I think it's probably top 50 classic Marvel moments. She-Hulk talking about Wolverine's tushy. And before I let you guys go, this hour has just flown by. Thank you both for being on the air. Before I let you go, real quick, we'll just do a couple rapid-fire questions. Same question for both of you. I'm going to start with Rick.
Yeah.
In your current comic book collection, what's your favorite comic book you currently own?
Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos number 13.
Dan?
New Mutant Asgard Special, Super Special, Art Adams.
Who is your all-time favorite comic book artist, Rick?
I have so many. I don't think I could narrow it down to one.
Dan?
Rick Burchett.
Okay, the check's in the mail.
And Dan Slott, favorite comic book writer?
Oh, man, Stan Lee.
Okay. Now I'm going to switch it up, and you guys can't name each other. Rick, favorite comic book writer?
Ooh, favorite comic book writer? Denny O'Neill.
And Dan Slott, favorite comic book artist?
John Romita Sr.
Perfect. I would love to. I still got other questions to ask you guys, but we're literally about a minute and 20 seconds out from when we need to be out. So real quick before I let you go, we'll start with Rick. Where can people find you online, Instagram, social media, things like that, websites? I
am on both Facebook and Twitter. And I don't have a website, which my family, hi, Julie, my family keeps telling me I need to get. And that's it.
And Dan Slott, where can people find you? And I apologize because, Dan, I thought I was following you on Twitter already. I just now followed you on Twitter, so I'm so sorry. But where can people find you online?
On Twitter. That's it.
Just
don't look for me anywhere else.
Perfect. And I know, Rick, you've got Planet Comic Con coming up. Dan, do you have a Comic Con coming up you'd like to plug your appearance at?
Yes, the Dan stays at home because he's paranoid about COVID Comic-Con.
Okay, you can look for him there. Tickets are very expensive, folks, so make sure you get them early. But this has been an absolute delight to have you both on. Rick Burchett, Dan Slott, thank you for your time, and I would love to have you both on again if you're willing to come back.
Oh, anytime.
Oh, you betcha.
Perfect. Once again, we want to make sure we thank our sponsors, which are the City of St. Charles and, of course, Marcus Theaters, the official movie sponsor. Thank you to Joey V for making the show sound as good as it does all the time. Make sure you're checking out geektomeradio.com. We've got backlogs of all these. If you came in late on this particular audio, you can always go back and find it wherever you get your podcast from. And, of course, we do stream this, so hello to all of you on Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. You can find us on those sites as well. Give us a follow on social media as well, because that always helps us out when people are doing the search engine optimization things. And, of course, we do have a Patreon. If we're doing a drawing here right after the show's over for those Transformers Funko Pops, and all my Patreon subscribers automatically get a double entry into all my drawings. It's been great to have you both on, and thank you all for listening. Until next week, my friends.
It's not in the way you watch iZombie. It's not in the way you watch The Flash. It's not in the way you love Scotty Young art. It's not in the way you play Mario Kart. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Daily Bugle Building. Good night.
Hey kids, are your parents about to buy you a shiny new toy from Amazon?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Well, don't be selfish. Share some of that money with us. Before going on Amazon, make sure to type in bit.ly/geek2me in the web browser. It will look just like Amazon.com, except it'll say referral Geek to Me Radio up top. And then when you check out, a tiny percentage will go to support the show without costing you 1 cent more. So before your parents get you that gizmo, gadget, or widget, make sure they type in bit.ly/geek2me in the web browser.
Bit.ly/geek to me. Bit.ly/geek to me.